tell you what she said before she came in the house, though. She was so excited. Oh yeah, we're gonna go do the podcast. We're doing everything. Everything's good. Then she gets to the door. We're sitting there waiting on you, right? She looking at the door. She goes, "Oh, he a Dallas fan?"
Oh, come on.
You a Dallas fan?
You're an Eagles fan, obviously. Oh, you're from Philly.
Obviously.
You're from Philly, so I already know better.
Obviously.
But I'm a Dallas fan because my baby plays for
I be on
Dallas.
go and now that I'm starting, they watch me glow.
I grew up with his family, yeah.
That's my guy. Listen, okay, welcome everyone out there. This is Practicing Bad Habits with Mr. Wright once again. We have a special guest in the building, but before we introduce our special guest in the building, Sean, what's up, baby?
What's up, man?
Yeah, another day in the building, man.
Another day.
Another great conversation about to cook up.
Always.
We got a special, beautiful lady in the building this afternoon.
This should be good.
Queen Michele.
Oh, we got two Jamaicans in the building. Yeah.
All hail the queen.
We got our Jamaican American, you got your Haitian American.
And
Shout out to all the West Indians.
Lots of culture at this table right now.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Lots of culture, lots of good food, lots of good cooking right now at this table. You know, we can tell you a lot about that. You American guys don't.
I mean, I got some in my
Chinese
plate,
food and
not as much as you two, but I got a little bit in there.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to have you aboard.
Thank you so much.
Did my homework on you the past couple of weeks. I know you couldn't make it to our original scheduled date, but that gave me more time to do a little bit more homework.
Okay.
And you're a very interesting lady.
Thank you. Thank you so
You know,
much.
25 plus years you've been doing the hip hop for youth education. Mm-hmm. And how did you get started in this?
I got started, well, I grew up in hip hop and then I was born in hip hop. So, you know, watching hip hop and watching the culture and the changes in culture, and then looking at children and how they were comprehending what was false. So that's the reason why I created Hip Hop Education for Youth, which was originally unifying through the hip hop culture.
Well, let's slow down just a little bit. Born in hip hop. Let's give the audience a little background. You know, one, you're from Philly.
I'm from Philly.
You know, so that was a strong hip hop culture growing up.
Oh yeah.
You know, what else, you know, as far as hip hop itself, can you tell the audience that maybe they wouldn't know about you?
Well, two things. I'm gonna first start with my mom. My mom was a bodyguard. A lot of people didn't know that. My mom was a state trooper, but my mom was a bodyguard. So she bodyguarded a lot of people. Bobby Brown.
Oh wow.
Mom bodyguard Rob Bass.
Oh wow.
She did
The
Dougie
name dropping is
Fresh.
gonna get crazy.
And she had bodyguarded so many different people. So on that end, and my uncle is Cool DJ Red Alert. He is the godfather of hip hop. So he created a lot of things. A lot of people don't know his background. His background is crazy, but a lot of people know him just being a DJ.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know that my uncle was a basketball player.
Oh, I did not know
So
that.
he
And
had a D1
I didn't know that.
offer.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he had a D1 offer to Hampton University.
Wow.
Oh,
So he was
okay.
playing basketball.
How tall is Red?
I don't know how. I gotta ask him, Greg.
Oh, okay. Well, you say basketball, but you
But
know,
he's
I've never
tall.
met him in person. So on television, someone's height is never what you can think
Right,
it is.
right.
But I never got that impression from DJ Red Alert.
Yeah.
But that's good to know that he had that talent as well.
Yep. So he started DJing in 1976.
Okay.
And
1976.
Yep, 1976, and
Wow.
he got on the radio in 1983 and never stopped. So he's still on the radio in 2023.
That's awesome.
So he is doing 40 years consistently in radio,
That's awesome.
and being the first to merge hip hop and reggae. He was the first to put it on an actual FM station
Yes.
in New York City.
Yes.
And and a lot of people don't know that he's the only DJ that serviced all radio stations from Power 99, Kiss FM, 98.7 Kiss.
Wow, yeah.
And he was also on 105 and then WBLS.
So
So
he
he
was
serviced all the urban radio stations. He's the only one.
So as far as impressions on your life, he's definitely someone that influenced you as far as the culture and just your love for and passion for what
Yeah,
you're doing.
she stays in New York. I thought she was actually from New York, but she's from Philly.
But the thing I've gathered from Michele, though, is that she's taking action.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with all the exposure that you've had with the people that you grew up with and the family members, you've taken action.
Yeah.
And with the Hip Hop Education for You, some of the things that I've gathered in your research was how you linked the education aspect and the hip hop aspect. That was really interesting to me because that showed some level of thinking that was
Oh yeah,
very serious.
I'm actually the first in the city of Harrisburg to bring hip hop education into the schools. A lot of
Yes.
people didn't know that.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
how we actually met.
And how did you guys meet? As far as what was your involvement, Sean?
I'm just raising my kids, and then my son, he's going to school. He liked dancing at the time. He was always dancing around and doing like different dances. And then one day he goes, I'm on like was it a dance team?
It was a break dancing.
Break dancing.
Okay,
So
one of
he's
the
like-
elements.
Yeah, so after school, I'm like, where's my kid at? He's at breakdancing class. And I'm like, I go to pick him up. That's where I met her at, and then you know what I'm saying. And after that, we just kept bumping into each other, and then you know what I'm saying. She's very positive. So.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, how did you also get it implemented into the school system?
So I actually started in New York.
Okay.
So I came back home, and at the time I was home maybe once or twice a week, and just learning the issue that was going on with the children not only in New York but what's going on in Harrisburg, and you have this group of kids understanding their friends who's dealing with some mental health issues, and they would invite them. So just collecting all what was going on, especially in the Black community. I turned the hip hop education into social and emotional learning.
And I love that. I
yeah.
love the mission of the entire program that you've created, because that's something I discuss a lot here with the podcast.
Yeah,
That's something
kids
that
always need something to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not only something to do, Sean, but it's something that, if not addressed, someone who's not mentally strong enough can make very bad and poor decisions.
Exactly.
So I can see the outlet that you're giving these young ones.
Oh yeah.
Especially through the arts, especially being able to express their talent and skill, because sometimes that's very soothing to a troubled mind.
Oh yeah. So even a lot of people don't know that every element in hip hop has something to do with mental health. So graffiti is really good for somebody that's dealing with depression. A lot of people didn't know that.
I did not.
But your breakdancing could be someone that's dealing with ADHD.
Right.
Wow.
So that's something that I've studied.
And I gather that because for you to be able to create a program, that means you're able to also not only have to identify what's in each person, but you created an outlet that even if you can't, they can then identify what might be helpful to them.
Right.
Which is awesome, because again, I think behind the whole thing is the mindfulness, why I wanted to sit down and talk to you the most, because it's the character of the person that sees such bigger for others.
Oh yeah.
And the steps that you're willing to take to also facilitate these environments. I'm just completely in awe of that, because I'm all about character.
Oh yeah.
And you're instilling that in others through this program. What are some other steps that these kids can benefit from in the sense of self-motivation? How can they do this also once they're away from the program? What are some steps that you've instilled in them?
So a lot of my kids actually started their own company. I got one of my former students, he's teaching hip hop education at Temple.
That's awesome.
He's in a college.
How long, at what age did he start with you?
He started with me, I think, at like 13.
Wow.
So when he went to Temple, I get him young. I don't want him older, I want him young.
Yes.
And once I get them, it's kind of like grooming them into understanding the culture that you're in. So once they dealing with what's considered another group of kids who's their age, their peers, you can be surprised of the conversation, because it's totally two different worlds. Because you might have someone here that's just into the rap and not understanding that what's being installed in their minds and in their spirit, right? Then you got somebody that's culture over here, who's the exact same age, educating this group, and then bringing them awareness. One of my students is a Rakim fan, and he was 10.
Oh wow!
And he can recite the lyrics of "I was a fiend." He was just walking around
pocket full of lint.
Yeah, with headphones. And one day he shocked one of the security guards because he just broke down the whole mic, just the whole song, And he was like, "Yeah, take the headphones." So he was like, "Come on, man, this is Rakim."
That should get a pass.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
He was mad. He was mad. So, so that's basically, a lot of these kids, they go home and they research, and they're coming to find out a lot of the music that's being sampled today. It's something that was played back in like 1982, and they're laughing because, we was in bell bottoms and jerry curls and, so it's really soothing, but it's so funny to hear them laughing at us, how we were growing up.
I do that with my kids all the time. My kids like they'll have a song and they listen to it, and I try to tell them, I'm like, and they like, you don't know this song? I'm like, they stole it.
Yeah.
They actually took it from something else.
Yeah.
I look and I play them the original version, and they're like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
now, from the perspective that you're speaking about these kids and this young man that's in Tumble, you obviously taking them from one place to the next. What are some of the trauma that these kids are dealing with at home?
We dealt with, now, the last time I've been in a school was before COVID, was the year COVID.
Okay.
It was 2020. And one of the things I found out, we were dealing with a lot of domestic. That was in the homes. A lot of abuse. It's a lot that's going on in Harrisburg School District with our children. And that's why I always tell people to be easy on them.
But also, too, Michele, this is important because a lot of this is not being taught.
It's not being taught or told.
Or spoken about. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, mental health for some reason is something that's swept under the rug or kept in the closet, or just, you know, it's touched on when something crazy happens.
Well, I got a good one for you. I did a research on this. Mm-hmm. I did this research at it was NYU.
Okay.
I went to it was a hip hop studies that they had there, and coming to find out when a child wakes up, and if they're waking up in a domestic home, so say if they wake up at 5, and the parents had already been arguing, and it was a domestic at 2, that child had lost some major sleep.
Yeah.
So once that child get up at 5 and they got to get on that bus by 7, possibly from their house to their bus, they're gonna be dealing with bullying. So once they get off the bus and they get into the school, they're going to be dealing with bullying. And then they're going to be dealing with, maybe because of their reaction of what they're dealing with, the trauma, they're going to be dealing with the outcome of the teacher kicking them out the class.
And it's all compounded.
Right.
So it's
and
like anger.
It's really is, and it's a cycle, right? But these are not being told. So when you're seeing that kid throwing that chair across the room, saying F it, but what's the reason? What's going on? Well, they're getting kicked out of school. So then they go home. Because the teacher called, now they're dealing with abuse themselves.
Something you just said. When you see the kid throwing that chair across the room, you know something that was missed in that is the talk therapy.
Right.
That aspect of it is completely missed because that at no point did that kid from 2 a.m. listening to that foolishness, having to go back to sleep, waking up again to the same foolishness, getting on the bus to the
and then don't forget the parents said, you don't you take my business into the schools.
So you're creating time bombs.
Right.
And not necessarily someone that's going to overreact and do something crazy, but you're damaging this human being.
Right.
Because they now have no outlet.
Right.
How do you give them that voice?
So basically, rap. What we used to do, I would have the kids to write a song, but I want you to be honest.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you the green light to say what you want to say.
Yes.
And that's how I was finding out some things that was going on. So when I went and approached, the higher ups, I tell them you got to be mindful how you approach the parent. Like one of my longest students that I had, he was in, I'm not going to mention his name, but that's my baby. But coming to find out he was a Latin king.
Gang member.
Yep. And I practically adopted him.
Now, was he trying to get out the gang by associating and being in the program, or was this something you just discovered that he was hiding?
Just discovered.
How did you handle it?
But I found out in his older years. His first gun charge was at 9.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
So it's a lot of hidden things that's going on in our urban schools, not only in Harrisburg, but Philadelphia, New York.
When a child is exposed to this environments like that at such a young age, I mean, getting them back on track is incredibly difficult.
It's hard.
So your program is very vital to the community.
It is, because I got to accept them who they are. I can only change you so much.
Now, is it from experience that you can actually like what did you say? Like know what they're going through? Like, have you ever been through anything where?
I really haven't, but y'all understand how hip hop started. So I'm gonna give you a full circle here.
Okay.
Hip hop started out of the gangs.
Yes.
So you had the Savage Skull, you had the Black Spades who turned into the Zulu Nation. You had the Ghetto Brothers.
Yes.
So you had a lot of them who were at war with each other, end up creating a culture. And this culture became hip hop.
But I think Sean's question
is that like the
fascinates
breakdancing?
me.
That's where the breakdancing.
The breakdancing actually started but also other elements came after.
Yeah.
Because the first element technically was graffiti art.
Yeah.
That's the first element of hip hop, which is a big battle because they're saying it started in Philadelphia, which is true, but the whole bombing, which you understand, we're dealing with colors, the throw ups and everything, came from New York.
Bombing was, in a sense, a nuisance to some people.
I know.
But there are some photos that of landscapes in the Bronx and trains and
when you say
buildings.
bombing is like
graffiti.
So the graffiti that you see that I be doing,
Now bombing is just the graffiti up. It's not actually going over top of somebody's graffiti.
that's spitting.
Okay.
That's spitting. So if you do a graffiti piece, not go over your graffiti piece, that's spitting.
Okay.
But bombing is something like, you see I be doing my graffiti and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just bomb my tablet. So that's basically what it is.
And she's working on practicing bad habits for us too.
Oh, is that right? That would be awesome.
yeah.
Did you blow her surprise?
Nah, why did she bring something for us?
Well, just to go back a second, his question was very interesting as far as your love for it. Your love is not normal. The way you identify with the compassion for the kids and the art itself. When I say not normal, what I mean is it's above.
Right.
It's more than, especially for someone who said, no, I did not grow up like that. Where did that heart come from? That's
I think it came from working with children.
Okay.
So you got to see it. One of the things I always learn is keep your ears open and your mouth closed.
Yes.
And you got to listen. And I actually started in a woman's shelter before I went to, moved to New York City.
Now, what were some of the things you were discovering in that shelter? Because I too
A lot
volunteered at a women's shelter in Baltimore for a number of years.
Yeah.
I just want to hear from your experience.
It's crazy, hearing the stories, watching what your children going through, and and I worked in the daycare part, so just
How
learning
old were
children
you?
from there. I was like, at the time I was 19,
Oh, wow.
so
Your eyes were wide open to it.
I really was, and I think just learning children and understanding, and my friends.
Yeah.
I had friends that was out there in the streets. I ain't gonna lie. So how to approach children? That's basically what it is, and giving them a different outlet. I got to give credit to my mom, because my mom would say, Harrisburg has a lot of black people, but it's kind of lacking a culture, because they think they're part of a culture, but there's so many missing elements.
Yes, there are.
And by I'm in New York City, and it's like I'm discovering so much stuff. My mom's like, bring it back, and I did.
Yes.
So being the first to bring the 5 elements of hip hop to Harrisburg, a lot of people didn't know that.
And she's true to it. She actually bringing in 5 elements.
I believe what that's called is being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Because again, in New York, you're a small fish in a big pond.
Right.
You're coming from the Mecca.
Right.
So you're bringing something that doesn't exist to a place where that needs it.
Right.
So that the pioneering aspect of that is, again, that's the question. It's
Yeah.
like where did this love really resonate? And from you explaining the homeless shelter, and me myself, I used to volunteer, serve dinner, be around the kids. You really get a chance to see different levels of life.
Oh yeah.
You get a chance to see a parent that now has to take care of this responsibility, but they themselves are in an environment where they cannot even begin to figure out where to start.
Oh
And you're a kid.
yeah.
But you're a kid with the parent that's also trying to figure out how to get them in a stable environment.
Yeah.
So I saw that level of trauma. I saw how much of a struggle that is. The impression that's going to continue to follow this child with until maybe what? And then if they're not in school, if they're not a part of the program like this, if the streets don't get them, I mean, how do we really?
And the streets are easy.
It's always the best option. For
Yeah.
them, especially when they have no other options in parenting, in conversation. The talk therapy is the biggest part that I think is missing.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all can't afford therapists. We all can't be in the environments to have the outlets in school to talk to any teacher or anyone that we want to talk to. Sometimes we're not involved in sports to talk to coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
I really didn't have therapy until we actually started doing this. I really see like this is like therapy. I really didn't.
But as a
understand,
young
like,
black
this
man
was-
coming up, how did you balance and how
You know
did
what I
you
mean?
manage your day-to-day adverse situations?
I would just bottle it up for myself, like you say. You suppress it and you suppress it until you turn into like a ticking time bomb. So I started turning into like a ticking time bomb at different times, and I would blow up on people, and it might not be their problem. But then I learned, like, let me just that. So I started to distance myself. That's where it comes in, like, you know what I mean, start to be like an introvert and social anxiety.
But part of Michele's program, part of the mission statement, if I remember correctly, is you want to teach them how to communicate and be more social.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you want to teach them how to interact more.
Right.
You
That's
know,
one of the problems that we're having in the Black community.
So that's what
why
you're
there's
saying,
so
Sean,
high
that
crime.
you resorted to that. So, Michele, how do you help someone not resort to shutting down or living within themselves?
Trust. You got to build that trust. A lot of kids, we when they're entering our program, you know, they already got the wall up. So it's just building the trust and not judging, because even though some of my babies come in with their little pants tag and I'm telling them, no, pull them up, you know, I just don't want them to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't, because I'm going to get them where they are.
Yeah.
That's patience.
You know.
Patience as well. Since I've known her, she's shown a great ability to be patient with kids. She knows we'll go back and forth, and I'll say, "Oh my gosh, these kids," and she's like, "Let them go. They're okay."
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
You know, patience is not just a word. It's also a skill you have to have.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
especially as a teacher.
Yeah.
Especially just what you described. Each student is different.
Oh, yeah.
They come from different backgrounds. They're spoken to in a different light, a different tone every day. Someone might be yelled at all the time. Someone might be babied way too much. So you have to find that middle ground. So I completely understand the patience that you need to have, especially when dealing with such different landscapes.
And
in
you
front
do
of
have a different group of kids, because you got your good kids, you got this group of kids, and then you got, you know, the thunder and lightning.
and that has to be hard knowing like when to push a kid, because I mean, you're still like, it's even though you're working on different things, emotional things, it's still an art that you're trying to give to them to express.
Yeah. Yeah.
So knowing where to push them to be the best at like their art has to be hard, because you know what I mean. If you push a kid at the wrong time, they're gone.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this, Michele. Do you push or do you find?
I find. I find.
Find that.
And you'd be surprised. That badass kid,
Oh,
you'd
my
be
goodness.
surprised. He got some skills.
She loves them.
I love him. I do.
Now, once you get them on, once you find that they possess this talent and they would love to further it, because again, they wouldn't even have been a part of the program or identify the program with what they want to do if they weren't ready. To at a certain level. How? As a matter of fact, before I even ask that question, how do you get more people involved? How did your son
The
get
children,
involved? Yes.
it's word of mouth, because if believe it or not, I think Juju broke one of his friends. And then if that friend probably bring about 5 more kids.
Right.
So my enrollment was more easier than any other program that was in the school, because it's hip hop, it's fun, I can express, and this woman's crazy like us. That's right. We all gonna be crazy together,
Yeah,
but
that's
we're gonna
awesome.
have fun.
That's
so
awesome.
so believe it or not, I think at one time I had like up to 35 kids.
Oh, wow.
We were having a ball.
Wow.
And
So-
you can't judge a book by its cover.
You really can't.
The crazy thing is, when I met
believe
her,
that.
she was teaching breakdancing. And I'm looking at this lady like, how are you teaching these kids breakdancing? And then we do some research. She actually breakdanced.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't
she
do it no
breakdanced
more.
No?
I'm retired out.
Okay.
Back in 13, I had a little accident. No, it's not with breaking. It
Okay.
was an accident. But I have students. You know, one of my kids was on the world of dance.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that show.
So yeah, so I would bring them in, and then they would teach them, because they'll have their little fan base. And then you'll hear the kids like, are you bringing Mikey? Are you bringing Justin? Are you bringing Sean? You bringing Marcus? You bringing Sassy? You bringing Rugrat? You know, bringing this person, that person, and we'll bring them in. And then next you know, you have about 100 kids.
Wow. Now, you mentioned the young man in Temple. What are some other success stories?
So we have he's like my nephew. He's my godson. That's my nephew, because if I say he's probably kill me. Well, my
Is
one
this the
baby,
one that was going to join the podcast?
yeah, I want him to be on this
Okay.
podcast, but he's signed with Sprite.
Okay, so he has to.
Yeah, he signed. Matter of fact, he be in L.A. because he reminded me like 7 times. Cause I was like, why didn't you tell me now? But he have a show in L.A. next week.
Okay.
So
So is that why he couldn't make it?
He's very busy.
He is.
He
He's on- he
I
is
spoke
on a
to him.
roll.
She stopped me and him, like, and just connected us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? But
he was actually signed in the canon.
Okay.
So a lot of my kids, they're doing good. Stink Loud's one of my former students, who's an amazing artist. Another artist I want you to look up. His name's Duke. He's a firefighter.
Okay.
But his music is incredible.
We'll definitely check him out.
Another one, his name is Marcel. He is he's one of my former students.
Okay.
He teaches the drum line for the Harrisburg Cougars. He's an amazing producer.
That's
one of
awesome.
my former students. So a lot of my babies are out there doing their thing. Another one is Red, Elijah Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
He started his youth program, one of my former students, and he has his hands in everything.
Wow.
Very, 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 very impressive what he's doing.
I think it's important that we talk about the success stories
Yeah.
because a lot of these kids coming into the program as well, they're coming from these troubled homes that they need to know, you know what, I know where I can get some help from.
Yeah,
and I
some
know
are-
the people that can help me.
And it's like, watching them, I'm like, wow, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that's very, very big. Like,
Yeah.
I had trouble, and I still do. I have trouble communicating with like my son. I'm raising a boy to be a man, but I find it so tough to communicate with him at times. You know what I mean? And it's not just on bad levels or good levels. It's on all different levels.
Yeah.
You know, kids, like, their society has really bred them to suppress like a lot of things that they
Yeah.
go through.
Well, that's why I also asked Michele, does she push or does she find?
Right.
So I'll ask you the same thing sometimes too as a parent. Do you push or do you find?
I pick and choose, like, because sometimes I push and then sometimes I find. Sometimes because raising my son, like, a lot of times if I put him in sports, his coaches were my peers, we were friends. You know what I mean? So then they go, oh, Sean's son, and they, they're already putting a weight on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of me.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would he was small, and I would leave him at practice, like, okay, I'm just gonna get out the way. So, you know what I mean, he can at least be a free kid, and not to have so much pressure on him. And then there are times where I try to push him, and sometimes you get good results, sometimes you don't. But my son, he was really reserved and quiet. He actually just started talking to me, like just talking out. Like, I would have to initiate all the conversation and be able to have to coach him into saying things. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I'm a man of opportunity, Sean. You have a very you have a perfect person over here to start throwing some questions at. If anyone can tell you some insight as to how, to basically help find and discover some other ways to possibly tap into a different level of communication.
Oh,
you have the perfect lady, right?
We talk all the time.
I hate to put you on the spot like that, but
No, we do
your
it.
credentials definitely match.
I
But you know
utilize
what?
it. I utilize it.
It's so different between an educator and a parent because kids will run to us before they run to the parent. So we got to build what's called this trust.
But why is that?
Because of consequences and
I
repercussions.
think that's what it is. Because even with my mom, I used to run to, Mr. Jackson that worked in the Harrisburg School District. I would go to him before I go to my parents.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess that's like what Sean said, is this the accountability, but I could go to Mr. Jackson and be like, look, yeah, this happened, But it's just something that, and maybe because the children are in the schools longer, because I think the children are in the school for 52 hours a week or maybe longer than that or something like that, versus when they're home, So it's maybe because what they have built.
Now,
With the relationship with the peer, with the educators or with the teachers.
but also too, why is that level of relationship not built and established at home? And it used to be something that was,
But think about this.
Oh, yeah, the world has changed.
It
The
has,
world's on a
because I
different
bet you
level
$20, Juju friends will go to him before they go to their parents.
Exactly.
It's just different.
but why?
I don't know. I think just think that it's just maybe because the outside give a better solution. It's not saying the parent's not wrong.
Well, here's
it's
the-
just maybe it also could be an embarrassment.
Yes, here's the thing. I figured out about my son, right? My lady, because he just stopped playing basketball, as far as we call it whistle ball. And my lady, my wife, tells me, she's like, his son, she's like, he don't want to play basketball anymore, baby. And I'm just like, what? Let me talk to him. I talked to him. He's like, he's tired, and you know what I mean. I was just tired. I'm like, okay, you sure? And he's like, yeah. So I let it go. She comes to me again, because they're having different conversations, like y'all are saying. You know what I mean? My son is thinking that I'm gonna crucify him for not wanting to play sports, and you know what I mean. But he don't understand. Like I'm understanding. This is your life. This is what you want to do. I would love for you. I just want to give you the experiences of anything that I maybe didn't have. And you know what I mean. I talked to him. My wife talked to him, and he called a family meeting, and he brought it out. And he said I don't want to play basketball anymore. He said I enjoy it, but I don't, like the whistle ball. And he's like, I like playing with my friends, but that's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna hold you. My heart hurt a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because he's so athletic and he can do it, but he really just he wanted to go a different direction, and took so long to get out. You know what I'm saying?
So let me push this question back towards you a little bit, especially based on something you just said, Sean, the power of choice. You're obviously, and your aim is to build leaders,
Right.
People who obviously make great decisions on the fly, critical thinkers. What are some steps that we're taking to, help them to understand that it's about being a leader? Because you also given an example earlier about two groups, one is teaching and they're on the same level, they're the same age. How do you identify the guys that have the potential to become a leader?
So what you'll do, you take a group and you teach them to lead. Then you put them back in the world. Now, once upon a time, I was a part of Universal Zulu Nation. Universal Zulu Nation is the foundation of hip hop.
Yes.
I had the Zulu Brats. The Zulu Brats was taught to be leaders. They was the first Zulu groups since like 1970 or something like that. So we built them to be leaders, right? We built them to understand culture. We built them how to talk. We built them how to listen. We built them how to understand, right? But also y'all hold each other accountable, because I'm getting tired. Y'all growing up with each other. So then you send them out in the world. Once you send them out in the world, they already got a name for themselves. And then their peers going to start coming to them. And they're going to start listening to these leaders that was built, right?
Yes.
And then what's going to happen, they're going to build them. So it's just a continuation. It's just going to continue on.
Now, that continuation, is that still displayed in today's hip-hop? Like it was back then?
It is. You have two worlds, though. You got your rap and you got your hip-hop, because hip-hop is still around.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that hip-hop haven't been played on the radio in over 25 years. But to the blind eye, I mean, hip-hop is being played on the radio, pop is, right? Yeah. Because hip-hop went so underground, went so overseas, that it's just popping over there, right? And it's still there. Hip-hop is a curriculum in the college. I just did a class at the University of Maryland back in 2019, right?
And what was that class about?
It was about the history of hip-hop.
Okay.
It was about the history of hip hop, and and it's out there. Like my Zulu brother, he's at Harvard teaching hip hop 101.
Now, what are some of the topics that you're discussing in these classes?
So we talk. My biggest discussion on is the era of 1986 to 1989. It's a very crucial era, right? Because that's when we found ourselves. You remember, you had your Public Enemy, your X-Clan, your Tribe Called Quest, and your KRS-One, your Rakims. That was called the God of the era of hip hop, because it was the awakening for Black people.
Yes.
It was like a really, really strong RBG movement, but it was the shortest era in hip hop, because gangster rap came in and bombarded the hell out of it, right?
It did.
And it was the longest era and the most crucial era. And not only you was dealing with the drug war,
right,
at that time, right? So I teach about 86 to 89. It's really, really, really important, because not only a lot of Black men, they was getting out of the crazy look into the African wear. You remember we was wearing the dashikis and the hats, and
I had that.
Me
I had
too. The medallions and everything, right?
Everywhere.
I remember that.
And we were just like really waking up and coming to find out, they were saying that time from 80 to 86 to 89, it wasn't worldwide. It wasn't that much. It was crime going on, but the crime wasn't as high from 90 on. You understand? So they're saying that There was the awakening. A lot of black men went to the churches. They went to the Nation of Islam. They went to a lot of black movements around that time. And they just started finding themselves, and they started cleansing themselves, and they started listening to this music and I mean, self-destruction.
Yeah.
Right? Self-destruction was way ahead of its time.
I was a kid, and that was like one of my favorite like rap videos.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't know. I never even known, because my uncle told me this, that video with him and Marley Marl, that's when they made peace. Remember the BDP and the Juice Crew? That's when they made peace, but that's why they were standing in that video. I said, I didn't know that.
Can that happen today?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Self-destruction. Can you bring that many artists together and it's genuine with that many messages? Because again, all those rappers in those videos actually stood by their message.
That's right.
You know why
today I just don't get that sense of
they're all too busy when they make rap songs. To my thinking back then, a rap song, this person would go with this person. They would go in the studio. They would collaborate together. They would spend some time.
But there was a message.
They would spend time together.
Yeah.
These rappers don't. The way technology is now, you can be in two totally different countries and make a song together.
My thing is still the message.
Now, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Can it happen? Yeah. But is there going to be some interference? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sorry, I do speak very openly about the music industry and the prison pipeline. I speak about that openly.
The prison pipeline.
That's right.
Rap is taken over now by like younger people.
It is, but there's still that higher up, that interference, right? That's going to interfere with that. That's just like what they did between 86 to 89. That's what they did. We were really waking up. We were really, there was such a message. Like some of the things I didn't even know about Black history. I was listening and learned it from that time.
Wow.
You know, I didn't know what was going on down in Virginia Beach, that we was getting beaten, every year. I didn't know that.
She just put me on to something. When you said like the eras in hip hop, you just broke it down. I just really realized like the changing from this time to that time.
And it was quick.
I went from I remember wearing a medallion. I remember that, and I remember actually wanting to have a gold chain.
Big gold chain too.
That's right.
Listen, I had a big gold
ball
chain.
jacket too.
Yeah, my brother sold drugs, and I was finding his stash, and I was still like some of his money. Like I'll take like a $20. I'm a kid, you know what I mean? $20 is like a lot. But I would go to the corner store. It was like a hair store, and I would buy the chains. They had chains all lined up, the big ones with the BMW signs.
Yep, that's right.
They were like $16. I was a little kid with like a big rapper chain on. You know what I mean? But
now speaking of flossing, let's talk a little bit about contradictions. Today, you have rappers at an abundance, an alarming rate drill, I believe they call it.
Right. Yeah.
You have these rappers with the M16s over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Money sleeves.
Yeah.
Now, when you're teaching this class, these kids have to now go home, and that's also another teacher.
Yep.
How do you?
So you got one of the things being a hip hop educator, you got to be real. Don't sugarcoat.
Okay.
You got to keep it real.
Talk to me.
You really do. And I teach my students that sometimes some of them artists, I forgot the one artist's name. He just got his bachelor's degree, and he's in drill.
But does he
Holding
make it
a gun.
known? Does he make that known?
I think his picture accidentally went viral.
Accidentally. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. So the thing is that who is behind it? Now, one of the things I learned from a friend of mine that's an artist, I'm not going to say his name, but he taught me something. Okay. He said, he's well known too, is that when they were redoing their contract, it was a part of their contract.
What was that?
About changing the lyrics and the contents of their music.
Bad or worse?
To worse.
Oh, wow.
You know, from
a major label.
Nigga, major label. Now.
So they actually wanted him to change.
They wanted this group to change their
be
content.
More aggressive. They
be
wanted
more aggressive, be more gangsterized.
But you don't know if it's real or not.
But the thing is that, because we can also give you a bonus. We can add $2 million to that.
To degrade yourself.
Right. So a lot of that is paid. Who's sponsoring? Why is there an M16? Is the person that's owning the company at M16 giving these kids to sponsor it. There's a lot of hidden things a lot of people don't
now you're
know
getting
about the
into, like-
industry.
But let's go there then.
This
because
is like what Kanye West is like screaming about
this is
right
this
now.
is
It's
I
like
work. He'll tell you I worked in the industry.
controlling, like, you know what I mean?
But let's
what
go
people
there
think
then,
and what they
because
say.
it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to truly understand the impact that it truly has. Because the question derived from the fact that it's your school, the students that you have in your school, they're young, they're impressionable.
Right.
Now they have to go home after spending 2-3 hours with you. And be exposed to this, not only on the street, not only, you know, their brothers and sisters might be also emulating the same behavior.
That's right.
But then they have access to it on the phone, on the television.
Yep.
That teacher right there in influence is derived from those big labels that you're saying, because if they're wanting these kids to then portray this image,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we really
And why is it
trying to
targeted?
understand?
Why is it targeted towards our children?
You know what?
And in the communities that our kids are located too, because
And I'm going to hit y'all with something else too.
Talk
And
to
this
me.
is something I learned.
Yeah, I got
It's
something.
not all radio stations, but it's majority that plays the new hip hop. Why is a certain song is playing every 2 minutes?
It's
So
about paper.
it might be on this radio, but another radio, and then another radio, because it's all about mind control
and paper.
and paper, right? So you got this circulating. You know how we be in the car, and like 13 minutes later, that song comes back on.
Yeah, that is control.
I mean, I love my 3-6 Mafia, but you remember the song "Fly"?
Yeah.
There was some hidden message in it. But why was that song was being played every 7 minutes?
Right.
There's a lot of hidden things.
That's like this.
And
Check
it's
it out.
programming. It's all about programming. And then I think when people started really, because not all had DJs. Some did, some do. Some have DJs, some don't. You know, thank you God, the Hot 97, WBLS, they do have DJs. Power 99 have a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, so some of these can be programmed certain times of the day.
That's why, but a time in hip hop, we went to underground rap because that
Yep.
was where you got the realness of like rap, untouched. You know what I'm saying?
Well, around that time, don't
Those are like
forget,
mixtapes.
around that time, 1990, I think to like 1995, underground was a big thing, but they were battling the gangster rap. So they all went. You remember the Lords of the Underground and
here comes the Lords.
I mean, I can go on as far as Common was out
love
at the
Common.
time.
Love Common.
And who else? Even the Wu-Tang. You know, so a lot of these artists, they went, and when it went underground, they made it hard for artists to get signed, because you had to battle your way in. You had to go. You really had to work your way in. No memorizing. Not your hype man sitting there finishing up your lyrics.
None of
You know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad they made it hard. So a lot of them that couldn't hold that weight down there, they were scrambling.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, yeah, that era, because it was called the tunnel, the dungeon of rap,
Okay.
the underground of rap. You know, and it just has so many different levels. You know, the Fooshnickens.
I remember
You know,
the
Chip
Fooshnickens.
Fu is one of my closest friends. You
Is that
know,
right?
that's my boy, and he also got a program in Brooklyn. It's called Math. So check out his program. It's in the school district. He's teaching hip hop right now.
I remember when Shaq got with the Fooshnickens,
Yeah,
and they had
they
a little,
just did a song like a month ago.
another one. That's awesome,
Him and
man.
Shaq. So a lot. I'm just so glad that around that time, even though the gangster rap was going on, but you know the underground was making it hard.
You know, something that you brought to this table and something that you brought to me is the levels of it.
Yeah.
Different stages of the game. You know, the evolvement of hip hop. What do you describe today's culture? How would you describe it, or how, when you look back on it 10 years from now, how would you look back on this?
It's a lot going on today.
Yeah.
It
And
really
is it-
It's you still got hip hop.
Is
You
it
still-
positive though?
You still
Well, some. It's so many different levels right now. Too.
It's a lot, because you still got your hip hop, you still got your breaking, your graffiti, you have your MCs, you have your DJs.
Right.
It's still popping. That's over here. Then you got your drill. That's over here. And then you have your rap. That's over here. Then you got your J-Ho crew. That's over there. It's just so much that's going on. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, you know, because in a way, if you're deep into hip hop, you can go over there. But I mean, if you want to listen to a little Glorilla, there's nothing wrong with going over there. But you also, if you want to listen to a little bit of drill, you can go over there. And if you want to listen to, Kendrick Lamar, you can go over here. I like how it's going on right now because it's giving you a little bit of a choice.
So many things
But
to choose
let's be
from.
honest, Michele.
So much stuff to choose from.
Influence.
Right.
Drill has the influence.
It's number one. It's
If a kid had a choice to come out with a style, they're going to choose
they're
that.
going to go drill. Exactly.
And it's easy to
And
do.
this is what I told you is more about the beat these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you got the right beat, you can preach anything.
But let's bring it back to the point of hip hop for youth education. Let's bring it back to the point of building leaders. Let's go back to message
Right.
in the music. That's obviously lost if drill is the biggest influence, and all
Right.
they're talking about is shooting up the ops and
Right.
and all the
Yeah.
other different violent acts and
Yeah.
what your women can do and this and that.
Right.
Respect in the music. It's always been there to some level and degree.
Right.
But there was always a level of classiness about the music. There was always a standout that said, you know what, I'm the leader in this game.
That's the
I
age
embody it."
difference. That's the age difference I was saying. Like
But
back
where
in the
are
day,
they?
Our rappers was older than.
And why are they not
I
leading
mean-
the pack as far as the message goes? There was for a lot.
Because I think right now it's about propaganda and money.
It is.
See, a
Always
lot of
about
people
money.
don't. Yes, we want it, but when you got money wiggling in your face, and you from the Bronx, and you off of the Grand Concourse, or you struggling, whatever the case may be, and not saying the Grand Concourse they got some struggling people because they don't. Because I ain't going to. I ain't go over there. 149th Street. Shout out to y'all. But if you coming from a hard, like a real struggling life, but there's money that's wagging, what is the choice?
Well, I guess I'm asking about the Jay-Z's of the world, the Ludacris's of the world,
They grew up.
Well, what I'm also asking is the examples that they were supposed to set, and why don't we see more of them at an alarming rate? You know what I mean by that? Independent, driven black men who understood the bigger picture, who saw that owning and leading. And
I think T.I. tried to do
that's
it.
because
a lot of them did.
the age.
But
It's
what,
the age.
It is the age gap.
Then what did we call that part of hip hop? Because I used to love that.
When
I
we
used
were
to love
when we
the
were
CDs.
when we were
That was
listening
the
to Jay-Z,
2000s.
when
That
we
was
were
the
listening
millennium.
to Jay-Z coming up, Jay-Z was already he was already at the peak of a man, like turning into
But
a man.
I think we're missing the point. What
Now
I'm saying
these
is
rappers are teenagers.
The independent label movement. When you had the Death Row, when you had the Bad Boy, when you had independent labels, because these men realized if we're going to do business with the bigger industry, with the bigger record labels, you're going to have to work with us. Not necessarily. We're not going to necessarily sell our souls. What do we call that?
Well, they were.
How did you
You
describe
basically
it?
just said it.
They were all like I'm telling you, they were all like 18. Like now these rappers are they're like 14, 15 holding guns and
But-
making $1 million.
I'm all about the message.
But I get what you're saying because I don't. Let me just also break this down. I think this is so troubling. Jesus. So this generation, I don't know if people have been aware, but since 2016, over 51 rappers was killed.
Okay, we're getting somewhere.
Ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And coming from our era, we were stunned by Scott LaRock.
Yeah.
We were shocked.
Yeah.
We were shocked by Eazy-E,
Yes, Biggie,
Biggie, Pop.
Tupac.
Yeah.
It was like one every 10 years type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't
L.
that such an
Remember Big L?
one of the best lyricists of all time. You're not
time.
even
Oh,
bringing.
yeah.
You're preaching to the choir
Oh,
over
yeah.
here. You're preaching to the choir.
One of my favorites.
All time favorite.
That's like I say.
Big L.
Back then, things were, you know what I mean, like we said, we had guidance, more guidance back then. These days, they don't have guidance, and a kid can say they don't want to listen to nobody, and there's nobody that's really gonna pull them up and say, no, you're gonna listen.
Let me ask by saying this: do you know what the total package is in hip hop? Who would you describe as the total package of who embodied that?
Right now,
in your all-time list, even if they were someone from today, who's the one man you said when he got in front of a microphone made an impact on all levels?
Who changed
Who embodied it?
content?
Let me
I'm
see.
going to say Rakim.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Rakim made it hard for a lot between him and KRS-One. They made it hard for a lot of because they changed just the whole style.
Because he still commands respect. What he says, he still stands as a man, and he still says, you know what I mean, what's right and what's true.
And the influence was there.
Right.
I'm wondering why we don't see more of that across the board, because you also had that same thing in Big Daddy Kane. You had so many, Heavy D. When I say I saw even Bismarck Kid, you saw so many individuals. Queen Latifah, MC Light. Am I not able to articulate what I'm trying to say here?
Majority rules right now.
I saw leaders across the board.
Right.
I don't see leaders today. I see followers. I see sheep. I see people who are doing the exact same thing someone else just did in the last music video. If I don't see that, I see people living in an abundance and an alarming rate of millions and the cars and the big houses, but I don't see the message in between.
Because it's all about copy and paste and drilling this into the child's mind. That's where it goes back into the industry and prison pipeline. Because all of that is being funded.
There's rappers that try
That's
it, but
why
it doesn't work.
I'm commending you. That's why I'm commending Michele for creating leaders.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, they have to be able to identify these pitfalls.
See, look, here's an example. Meek Mill. He said it was a lot of killings. Killings have been going on. He felt some type of way. You know what I mean? I'm getting this from social media of what he's saying and what he's putting out. And he stated, he said, Joe, he said, I feel bad right now. I don't want to rap about us killing each other. I don't want to rap about this. I don't want to rap about that. If you ask anybody, it's a ton of people that like hip hop, they probably wouldn't even remember him saying that. And it didn't last that long. You know what I mean? Like if you heard it and it went one ear and out the other. You know what I'm saying?
But also, him saying that also seemed like he took a stance.
Yeah.
And was it well received or not?
It didn't, like I said, it didn't last long. He tried. I can say that he tried because he put it out there. But when you put something out there, if you're not strong enough to go against the majority or just at least stand there and say, I don't care about the majority, I'm just going to do what I do.
But I would love for him to stand there and do what he does.
And take action.
Because we still need the example, because those kids you're teaching would find that in that leader in him and say, you know what, that's the message that I want to put out to the world. That I also don't agree in the violence. I don't agree in killing my own. And I don't agree in just degrading myself in my life. That's what I'm all about. That's why everything that you brought to this table today is just such an enlightenment for me, because I love the fact that you're teaching these kids, especially at such a young age, to make better choices.
And a lot of people don't know, right now, I just finished a curriculum on Rakim, and Rakim knows. That's one of my other mentors. That's my favorite. He's like family. That's my mentor. Right? That's my mentor.
You was just at the
concert
in the back.
So hold on, we're not really deep diving into this woman right now.
No,
we're surface level surfing right
Listen,
now. I want to get into this.
Check
I want to know who the family is. I want to know relationships and what.
She's the first female guest that we've had on here.
Yeah, big up to that. Big up to Miss Queen Michele being the first female guest we've had on the show.
Yes,
absolutely. Welcome aboard.
And she's probably the first guest that hasn't been on the show that said, I told her about another show and she was like, I want to be back on that show. You know what I'm saying? Remember we talked to our guy the other day and he said he had a question he wanted to bring on the show.
Yeah.
He said something to me about it and I was just talking to her about the show and I said something to her about it and she said, no, that show, I want to come back on that show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She said, that show, period, Sean. I'm like, okay, well, we'll try to make that happen in my schedules.
And a lot of people don't know, like, remember Skype?
Yeah, that old video.
My students will ask me, Miss Michele, you got me doing bio on KRS-One or Rakim or your uncle Red Alert or this person, that person. I don't know what to do. I said, come here, get on the Skype, and I'll get an artist on there.
Is that right?
Remember Grandmaster Cass?
Of course.
He was one of them.
Is that right?
One of my one student, he froze. I said, baby, you better talk. You know, so I actually had my students in communication with a lot of artists. So they would run it home, and I would never forget this. One of my students ran home and said, Dad, I taught the KRS-One.
Wow.
The dad literally was like, go upstairs.
You're lying.
Yeah.
you know it's crazy?
And he came back to school the next day with his dad. His dad came in and said, you teach hip-hop education? I'm breaking it down to him. He said, yeah, because I don't know how he know, cause I ain't gonna lie, I blast all day. I love KRS-One, but if my son gonna sit there and say he talked to KRS-One, I said he did.
Wow.
He said, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
He said, "Ma'am, I've been trying to
You
go
ever
to
hear
one of
me
his
say-
concerts."
Wow.
Look, you ever hear me say my life is a movie, right? This lady, like, she would speak to me, and she would be telling me these stories. And you ever speak to somebody and you're just like, oh my gosh, like you're fabricating, you're making this stuff
All
up,
the
right?
time, I hear that.
You would think that she's a liar, right? And then she takes out her phone, she shows you these pictures, and you're like, wait a minute, like, you know what I'm saying? And she can go on and on and on for.
Well,
she's been through so
I'm
much
sure-
and around so many different people. Like,
I'm
what
sure
if
a
she
lot of-
shows you.
I'm sure a lot of these legends also love supporting what you're doing.
They do because J Electronica. I remember I did a curriculum on him, and I went to him, and I was really like, yo, why don't you get into the colleges and teach mathematics? You know, and he's like, okay, but I'm like, even though you got a good album, I'm ready for the album. This is before he dropped his last album. Like, I'm ready for the album, but why don't you go and teach? Did you know that J Electronica was a 5th grade teacher in Philadelphia School District?
I did not know that.
He was a teacher. And I was just saying to him, like, go into the colleges and teach about hip hop education. Like, you're so needed.
Yeah.
You know, and I did a curriculum on him, and matter of fact, I had a 13-year-old that was just a fan. But we did what's called a swipe, because I became a fan of Extension. Because he was like, no, Miss Michele, you gotta listen. Put the headphones on, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been stuck on Extension ever since, before that baby had passed away.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Unfortunate.
You know, a lot of it, and he had some hidden gems.
Did he?
But I think, just in my opinion, they had to cut him off. That he was that one that you're talking about. Because if you go back and listen to his music, he had a lot of message. Go to a lot of his just.
You know,
him
I didn't know that
speaking.
he had all those fans, and he was already like.
Oh my, he was
You know what I mean?
amazing.
Like, some people, you don't really get to know things about them, or you don't see things
Yeah.
about them until they actually pass away.
He was breaking down the foods.
Yeah.
You know, the things that was killing us, the water. He was talking about the pollution, air. But what we looked at, we looked at his just his image, and sadly to say, many had judged him
That's
and they
true.
missed it. And I'm just so glad I didn't.
That's true.
You know, and I'll be honest to you, I've been stuck on that baby ever since.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie, I was devastated and I was hurt when he passed.
Yeah, I remember when that unfaithful event happened.
Yeah, yeah.
But listen, I know you can't hang out with us too long. I know you got to get out of here. But listen, can you please promise me to come back at some point?
am. I'm
'Cause
coming back.
I
I'm
don't-
loving this.
I don't feel like we even scratched the surface of how deep this conversation
we
can really go.
didn't get into some good questions.
Yeah.
Like, we got some great questions out there.
No, we still have a few minutes.
We still got a few minutes.
You still do. So
we can dig in some of the
Come
silly
on now.
questions as well, because I heard her speaking to a young lady, right? And the young lady's like, you're around like all these rappers and different things. Why aren't you dating like the rappers? And I'm, you know what I mean? And I pay attention to everything, so I'm just listening. I'm side listening, right? And she goes, nah, I've seen some of the things that go on, and I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Wait till she opens her phone and you can see like things of like where she's been. You know what I'm saying? And then you could get like a better understanding. You know what I'm saying?
So you're well traveled
I'm in New York City almost every weekend.
every weekend. A lot of different events
It's a lot of events. Well, I run my uncle's promotion
for Red Alert.
for Red Alert. Yeah. I run his promotion. I just finished his website. I'm so happy.
And what's the name of that website?
It is Legendary Cool DJ Red Alert. And he was like, whoa. I was like, Uncle, I did a good job.
Let's make sure we check that out. LegendaryCoolDJRedAlert.com.
Yes.
Yeah, let's make sure we check that out.
And I was like so happy because I really wanted to do a website and learn how to do a website. I'm like, oh, can I do yours? He was like, go ahead. I'm like, thank you.
Now, is that something you do often, where you employ others to do some things for you, or you like
You
to
know
self-teach
what?
yourself?
We well before 2020, I actually had assistants. So, but I just wanted to learn how to do things on my own. So, like promotion and radio promotion and how to learn how to build websites and stuff like that. And I run social media.
She does cameras too.
I does camera and everything,
She's a
yeah.
picture
Yeah.
lady, and she does pictures. You can book her for pictures. You can book her for
Makeup.
Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
as well. She done her own
What
makeup.
kind of makeup?
I do cosmetics. The one I got on.
Okay,
Yeah.
so nothing like horror
on.
movies or
I
anything like
used
that.
to.
You used to.
I used to.
She actually
And
makes makeup too, right?
I do. Yeah.
She makes her own makeup.
But you know who was my first actor?
Who's that?
Was Michael K. Williams.
Is that right?
I covered up his scar in the movie called Guile. Yep.
Oh wow.
I sure did.
So you've also done makeup on movies.
Yep, he was my first independent movie. Yep.
Oh wow. That's awesome. We're definitely gonna have to collab on that a little bit. There's a short film that I want to work on, so maybe you can help me.
He
out
was
or
telling me.
Point me in the right direction at least.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I love discovering all your different skills and talents. I feel like we're still not even.
Wait, not. She wants a. You got a podcast you want to do?
Yeah, let's talk about the podcast.
I want to work on a hip hop podcast. Just more for education purpose, not and just to give all y'all heads up, it is the 50th year.
Happy birthday, hip hop.
Happy birthday to hip hop. So a lot of hip hop pioneers are celebrating. Please, if y'all see a hip hop pioneer, I don't care if he's not, haven't had music or whatever the case may be, just wish him a happy 50th year.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just wish him, because a lot of, if you don't understand where hip hop came from, a lot of people had died just to make sure a lot of y'all selfish bastards, because I'm going to say this, to have a voice. Right? So we're going back to the Son of Sam. You remember the Son of Sam and the blackout? And a lot of, for just hip hop parties, they were climbing poles and stealing electricity just to make sure, they were having a good time, while there was,
Psycho.
a serial murder and a
streets.
blackout at the same time, while, he was dealing with gangs. So there was so much that was going on at that time, and they were fighting because nobody didn't want to see hip hop stay alive. 50 years later, it's still in effect.
Okay.
Just say thank you, and just say happy hip hop, or happy 50th year to a hip hop pioneer. Even somebody that's straight out of Harrisburg.
Right.
Shout out to Clay. Shout out to Godfather, Dean Carter, a lot of these guys who have started hip hop here in the city of Harrisburg. Shout out to Lady B out in Philadelphia. She's the first female MC out of Philadelphia.
Is that right?
And she is still to this day on the radio. She was on Power 99. So shout out to all the pioneers out of Pennsylvania, Cool Bread and Cool Earl. They're the founders of graffiti. So we have a lot of history here in Pennsylvania. Of course, we got
Big.
Will Smith.
Yeah.
We also got Schoolie D. A lot of people don't know
Schoolie D.
the first gangster rap came from the East Coast, came out of Philadelphia.
remember
So that
Schoolie.
whole West Coast thing, it was in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Ice-T would tell you that himself, and that's my Zulu brother.
Now that's my gangster rapper right there.
Yeah.
Ice-T, yep.
Yeah.
I used to love Ice-T back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You drop a lot of great names on us. Rest in peace to Gangsta Boo too. She just passed away the other day. That's
she
another
passed
hip hop
away.
legend.
I liked her. I like Gangsta Boo.
R.I.P. Gangsta Boo.
Also too, you have to come back, because I would love to discuss more about the culture, more about the education program, and a lot more that you have going on. I know you do a lot of different events in the community. I know you do a lot of different lectures at universities and things like that. I would love to even talk more about the things you talk about in depth with the students, as far as just the effect that gangster music definitely had on the culture. Because I don't think that's something that people know when it came to the political spectrum of things, that you had at one time CDs being crushed and destroyed in the streets.
That's right.
Just to be made an example of,
Yeah.
because they didn't want the music played.
That's right.
So these are things that I know you have the knowledge about, that most of us is probably put in the back burner, or no, we need to understand what shaped the culture to be where it's at today.
Yeah.
And I think your message is beyond important.
And I think that a lot of the, shout out to, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm just gonna say this, and I probably get a backlash for this, but the sisters is taking over.
Speak your mind.
Them sisters is taking over the female. You getting a lot of variety of women right now.
But you need it.
Right.
You getting your Glorillas, you getting your Megans, but shout out to Chirac. Shout out to Rhapsody. A lot of people, they're sleeping on them.
Yeah.
You got a variety of women right now.
Yeah.
And they're taking over.
That balance is needed. I remember growing up when MC Light and Queen Latifah
yeah.
were like
Oh, yeah.
just holding their own.
Oh yeah.
And on a level that
And people were scared to battle them.
word level.
That's
on
just like
a
you
level.
saying, What's the first song we were talking about? Well, all the hip hop members on there.
Self-destruction.
Yes.
Okay, what was I can't think of her name right now. I'm drawing a blank.
Miss Melody?
Miss Melody.
Yeah,
She
rest
went
in
hard.
peace.
Melody.
Rest in
That was
peace
my
to the
that was one of my
queen.
favorite.
She went hard.
Rest in peace
she
to
looked
the
like
queen.
my aunt. She looked
Yeah.
exactly like my aunt. So that's what drew me to her first. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, Miss Melody.
Yep, Miss Melody, and I'm the born again rebel. Queen right there.
Yeah.
Well, we got the queen in the building right now. Queen Michele is joining us. I'm having a great time hanging out with you today. This has been a great conversation. I wish you didn't have this time restriction because I have this thing in the back of my head where I want to be respectful to it, and that's why I'm just like, am I doing the right thing? Should I keep
I
going?
can definitely come back.
I don't know if you're trying to find a way to drop a hint or a cue to me right now, but I just want to be very respectful. But definitely come back as an understatement. You're more than invited back. I would love to have you back.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
try. We're gonna try to have you back when we have this conversation. We have a guest that has a question,
Yeah.
and he thinks the whole show is gonna blow up off of this question. He told it to me, and it really is gonna blow up.
Well, let's make it happen.
It really
Yeah.
is gonna blow up.
I know you're a busy woman, but if you do have some free time, please let us know.
And definitely, like I said, shout out to some artists that get them on here. There's some amazing artists. One is Little Joey. I call him Mr. Joe. You just think he's a grown man, but he is. That's Mr. Joe. It's my guy. He's a Philly guy like me. Like I said, Duke. There's a lot of artists there's a lot of young artists that are here that you would it would blow your mind. Because
I would
they
love
are
to speak to them.
amazing.
I would love to speak to them.
Amazing. There's a lot of female MCs, Lady Shakespeare, Niagara. My girls, they hold it down.
And they need a platform.
Oh, yeah.
They need a voice. They need to be able to say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's my intentions and the directions that I'm going in life. So
Oh, yeah.
I would love to also sit down and talk to them and give them that opportunity.
Okay.
Queen Michele, thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here.
I hope you guys enjoy this as much as myself and Sean did. This has been a great, awesome interview. We got Queen Michele in the building. Before we leave, you were also honored by the city of Harrisburg.
I am.
Tell us.
Yep,
Tell us.
It was in 2017. I was
But you
honored.
were honored by the city. Like,
Yep.
what,
And it was also, I think, by the governor as well. Yeah.
saving lives, I believe. Talk to us a little bit about that before we get out of here.
It was at the Martin Luther King showcase.
Oh, wow.
And I found out like a week before. So I was like, really? Thank you. Boss Babes. I also got my pioneership back in 2015.
Is that right?
I was shocked.
Congratulations.
My hip hop pioneership.
Congratulations.
And I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
I kind of wish a lot of other people, and this is one of the things I'm encouraging a lot of the guys that started here in hip hop, get out there. Cause I'm like, that really touched me. Cause I'm like, I'm a hip hop pioneer. I'm a hip hop legend. Wow.
When are you starting this podcast? Because you need to. Your voice needs to be out there on a
I
consistent
want to
basis.
start it kind of soon. Just got to sit down and, just get some ideas together. I go to my uncle about everything.
You gonna sit down?
I'm telling you, I go to Uncle Red about like, Uncle Red, you
She
think
said
this
she
a
gonna
good
sit
idea?
down. Is she gonna sit down? You actually gonna sit down?
I am. And I be going, and he be like, yeah.
Every weekend she's just moving, going.
Well, also big shout out to DJ Red Alert for his contributions to hip hop and
Yeah.
just for being a pioneer and a legend in your own right, my brother. Thank you
Happy
so much for
50th.
everything you've done. Happy 50th, my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Sean, it's always a pleasure, my bro. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir,
much, man.
always.
Love having you across from me, bro.
And make sure you follow me. I am on
plug
TikTok. I am Queen Michele on TikTok. On Instagram, Hip Hop Educator. And
What about your Facebook page?
my Facebook, it's just my name, Michele Harrison. And make sure you go to my website, www.hiphop. You know what? I had to kind of change my little hip hop, y'all. I'm so sorry.
Did you?
Yeah, go down.
I didn't have such a trouble finding you. I was able to discover a lot of your information.
Yeah, so it's going to be
Look, that's what he get into.
education for youth. Yep, so Hip Hop Education for Youth is my website, .com. So it's hiphopeducationforyouth.com. I am Queen Michele on TikTok, Hip Hop Educator on Instagram, Michele Harrison. Make sure you follow me so, and happy 50th to everyone that has serviced this culture, that had brought nothing but greatness and positivity.
Yes.
And yeah, we're gonna leave it on that note. And by the way, please check her out, all her plugs, everything. I was able to do my research and find out a lot of good things about the program, find out a lot of good things about the events that you do and have done and will continue to do.
Yeah.
So make sure we follow up on that. And Sean, again, thank you so much.
Yes,
Queen
sir.
Michele, thank you so much for being here
you.
today. And how comes I'm the only person that gets overheated on the set? You guys have
Because the light sits right on top
Right
of
on
you,
you,
brother.
yeah.
I get so hot, but I hope I don't. Anyway, we're just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for being here so much today.
It's
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
Michele.
It's a pleasure.
Please come back at some point.
I will.
Okay.
Trust me.
Miss Michele, Fearon, it's been a pleasure.
Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Been a pleasure for both of you. Likewise. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You're now practicing bad habits with Mr. Wright, Sean, and
Always.
Queen Michele in the building. You guys have a great day. We'll see y'all later. All right.
Thank
Peace.
you.
Well, boys, we hit the jackpot this time.
All right.
I like that song.
Gang shit. Yeah, young niggas getting money.